People want to understand this war more. That's why UK professors hosted that webinar today, because in order to understand what's happening between Ukraine and Russia, you first have to go back and get to know its history. It was a loud boom that caught his attention and drew him out here last night, where he witnessed most of the shooting that happened here on Main Street. And it lasted for hours. The chaos was so surreal that he told me he could not take his eyes off of what was happening. This fire truck that you see here washed up under the bridge is one of many stunning sights you will see now that the water has receded. These crops belong to Breathitt County farmer Willie Bush Jr. and he, like so many other residents here, are now in the rebuild and recovery phase. That means they're going to have to be touching metals like this barbed wire. They're constantly inhaling contaminated waters from this nearest creek, which is why it is imperative that he and so many of these flood victims now get their tetanus shots. This is the cafeteria and gym at Heinemann Elementary School. And as you can see, the water has receded, but what is left is mud. Mud is covering the entire floor. In fact, where I am standing is in about 2 to 3 inches of mud. And I want to direct your attention over to that window. That is the kitchen. And I was told they had just brand new appliances installed recently, but now it's all destroyed. Also could very well become the first school shooter granted parole in the U.S. Now this morning, Carneal was asked about his mental health, his behaviors for the last 25 years in prison, and most importantly, his plans if he were to be released. But there is one volunteer whose humility and hard work does not go unnoticed. Happy Oaks Day from Churchill Downs, where the theme today, everybody is thinking pink. And it's not just the fillies out on the racetracks that are stealing the spotlight, it's also the men and women in their pink attire. Having a felony on your record usually means it's going to be harder for you to find a job, to become a homeowner, different things like that. Can you talk about how this is going to positively impact them? I spoke with Rodney Washington. He's the owner of Fade's Barbershop, which you see here right behind me. And he told me that the car that crashed into his shop at 6 a.m. this morning was actually the 6th time that something like this has happened in the 17 years that he's owned this business. It's the second day of Keeneland, and the stakes are even higher today with qualifying derby races like Toyota Bluegrass Stakes. I spoke with horse investors, trainers, and breeders about what this day means for them and getting to the Run of the Roses.
Fox 56's Danielle Miskell is at Kroger Field now in the heart of all the action. Danny, what is the vibe out there? The concert should be wrapping up pretty soon, huh?
Hi, Gigi. Yes, it is electric out here. We're over here at Entrance 9. Chris Stapleton is currently performing, and I am here with Tony Neely. He is the UK Athletics Communications Department, and he's saying it's just been a success so far tonight, hasn't it?
Oh, it has. We've been really thrilled.
It's 92 degrees out here in Clark County right now, and these types of high temperatures can pose dangerous threats towards animals. Lunch ladies at a Winchester Middle School discovers historical artifacts inside this hidden cell. They're not native to Kentucky, but they've arrived here in Kentucky. We're talking about fire ants from South America and the disturbance that they are bringing to McCreary. Starting this fall, Knox County High School students will have some weight lifted off their... There are some female veteran events coming up that the Lady Veterans Connect is currently planning. There's going to be a benefit concert at the end of the month for female veterans dealing with PTSD. There were valid arguments on both sides as to whether or not the soccer stadiums should be built right here on Russell Cave Road, where this horse farm has been for years. When I was inside the funeral earlier and I was listening to stories of Officer Jacob Chafin, his best friend and partner in the National Guard said, and I quote, "It's men like Jake who will answer the call," and stood in the face of evil and said, "Let's go one more round." That while the robbery started here at this Fifth Third Bank location off of Tate's Creek Road, it quickly developed into an active scene where officers were searching for a suspect right across the street at the Pinebrook Apartments. Now, Joe Montgomery says that this model is called the WB5000, and it works so fast and efficiently that it is able to purify water within a matter of 3 to 4 minutes. Stock market's meltdown is posing a threat to investors who have high account balances, as they have much more to lose in this bear market. Investopedia reports that in the 2007-2008 bear market, anyone with a 401k balance of more than $200,000 experienced losses of more than 25%. When we come to airports of this size, it's typical that we plan to get here about an hour and a half early, but TSA is asking that you double that time because you may have to wait in long lines. The local concrete company, CKS Kings of Concrete, has been waiting to finish for about 6 weeks because of the concrete shortage. For rent signs are scarce to come by these days, but if you see one, you're asked to text a picture of it to the Catholic Action Center. We all know Kentucky is known for bourbon, but did you know that the very first vineyard to be established in America was right here in Nicholasville? They're coming from California, the Carolinas, Ohio. So as you can imagine, Lexington is the perfect fit because it is central to all of these teams in this invitational. Kentucky State University says that those remaining 400 beds is in such high demand with returning students because they are facing way too many challenges to live off campus, from inflation to housing shortages. Behind me, you can see lawyers are at work with flood victims trying to figure out why FEMA has denied their applications to repair their homes or their businesses. Today, I've even heard story after story of anything from documentation not being enough to a home address being a roadblock for why these flood victims are not receiving sufficient funds. Eastern Kentuckians are coming to this hardware store today for more than just tools and supplies. She was so moved that out of an act of kindness, she offered her wedding venue to her free of charge. The Kentucky Transportation Cabinet says that they need to focus right now on temporary solutions and make sure that these residents can get in and out of their homes safely. We're talking a $4 billion industry. I'm Danielle Miskell at Churchill Downs. This story of the Derby's economic impact ahead.
A day after the mass shooting, the small town of Allen is just beginning to process what happened there. Danielle Miskell was in Allen today talking with members of the community as they try to deal with their emotions.
One neighbor who lives in this house right here behind me says that it was a loud boom that caught his attention and drew him out here last night, where he witnessed most of the shooting that happened here on Main Street. And it lasted for hours. The chaos was so surreal that he told me he could not take his eyes off of what was happening.
Some booms. I didn't, it sounded like somebody knocking real loud on something.
When Charles heard gunshots, he stood on the corner off Main Street with his son and neighbor, where they couldn't see too much at first.
We were standing right there.
And when a Kentucky State Police trooper pulled up to the scene,
He opened up on him with a rifle. I mean, he was shot 30 times, that cop.
he said gunfire after gunfire, shots went everywhere. And then he noticed on the fire truck next to him.
Yes, but then there's a bullet hole in the glass. Couldn't believe it, you know.
Then he saw a firefighter not too far away from him get shot.
He got shot right behind them road bushes. When he went down, that's when we all went in the house. That's when it all reality set in, you know.
Tears well up in Charles' eyes as he's taken back to that moment when it was time to go inside for his own safety. It's not been a full 24 hours yet, and Tammy says she's at a loss for words.
I don't think it's even sank in yet.
Tammy didn't know Lance Storrs personally.
Just like one of your neighbors that you see out in the evenings on the street.
Tammy's niece lives next to Lance Storrs, and she was on the phone with her all night, where she was in the middle of the shooting.
She was speaking to me on her cell phone on the floor. We heard shots, sporadic gunfire all evening, like from 6:30 till around 8 or 8:30.
She says her niece was in communications with the shooter's daughter all night.
They was talking back and forth on the walkie-talkie.
To who?
To the little girl in the house.
Yeah.
And Mayor Les Stapleton has been spending the entire day setting up grief counseling in Prestonburg at the Mountain Arts Center. Reporting in Allen City, Danielle Miskell, Fox 56 News.
FEMA says it's pouring millions into housing assistance, small businesses, and flood insurance for Eastern Kentuckians. But many flood victims say they're still homeless with no aid.
Danielle Miskell spent the day in Whitesburg following up with one flood victim we first met back in August.
How many times have you applied for assistance with FEMA?
Probably over 15 times.
We first met Nadine Haynes back in August. She came to this clinic to meet with Lexington lawyers who offered help figuring out why her FEMA applications were being denied. Since then, she hasn't had much better luck with FEMA.
Every time I come out, I need another paper. I need another form. Now I've got enough to write a book on.
Haynes was directed to the Kentucky Farm Bureau to get proof that she didn't have flood insurance. She took it back to FEMA, but her applications were continuing to be denied. So she tried applying for a loan through the Small Business Administration, but was also denied.
I thought it's because my age is 59, and it's a 30-year fixed rate, so they would be out money if they loaned me any. and asked for additional assistance probably about 2 weeks ago. I'm running out of options.
It's been more than 2 months of waiting, so she's been forced to take matters into her own hands.
I've paid out of the pocket probably about $3,000 to $4,000 over time.
One of the biggest issues Nadine has been dealing with is just getting to and from her home. The floods washed away her driveway, and for the last 60 days, she has been needing to use a side-by-side to drive through this deep creek just to get to the other side of the main road. It wasn't until about 3 weeks ago Nadine was able to finally have a gravel driveway put in. Having a driveway again, she was able to hire help with getting debris removed, but the mold trapped in her flooring has gotten so bad, she's still not been able to live at home. With winter approaching and limited contractors, Haynes says she hopes she'll get a letter of approval from FEMA so her floors can be fixed before winter time.
I don't know who else to ask. I mean, it really pulls you down to, I'm thankful I got my life, I'm thankful for my children, I'm thankful for what I do have, don't want to lose what I've got.
Reporting in Whitesburg, Danielle Miskell, Fox 56 News.
The deadline for FEMA assistance is October 28th. For more information, visit this story on our website. That's fox56news.com.